I was 23 when it happened, a Friday night in late September. The air had that in-between smell, warm asphalt still holding the day's heat, cool leaves breaking down in the drainage ditch. My friend Carter had just moved into a cheap rental house near the edge of town, a squat one-story place with sagging gutters and a yard that melted into woods. We were all there, me, Carter, and Miles, playing video games and eating leftover pizza, the living room lit only by the TV's blue wash. It was one of those nights where nothing feels urgent. Music low, controllers clicking. Carter's dog, a black mutt named Rex, sprawled across the hallway like a speed bump. We had the windows cracked for a breeze. I remember the smell of pine drifting in from the tree line and the occasional buzz of a mosquito near my ear. Carter's house sat at the end of a gravel road, past a row of half-vacant duplexes. His nearest neighbor was a quarter-mile away, an old man who collected rusted cars. Beyond that, woods for miles. No streetlights, just a thin moon. We joked that it felt like a starter cabin for serial killers, and laughed, but the way Rex kept raising his head to sniff the air made me glance at the windows more than once. At around 10, Miles got up to grab another beer from the fridge. He stopped by the back door, peered through the glass, and frowned. "Carter," he said, "did you leave your lawn chair out by the tree line?" Carter didn't even look up. "What? No. Why?" Miles kept staring. "There's something out there. Looks like a chair or, I don't know, something white." I joined him, pressing my forehead to the cool glass. The porch light spilled a weak yellow circle over the deck, then faded into dark. At the edge of the woods, maybe 30 yards out, stood something pale. Not a chair, a person, or maybe just the suggestion of one. It didn't move. "Probably your neighbor," Carter said finally, but his voice had that brittle edge he got when he was bluffing. "Guy's always walking around out there." Miles shook his head. "The old dude? He's like 70. This is taller." Rex gave a low, uncertain whine and padded to the door, nails ticking against the linoleum. The hair on his neck stood up like a brush. I told myself it was a shadow, a trick of the moonlight. Something about the way the figure stood, still too still, made my stomach go cold. I stepped back from the glass. We went back to the game, but the room felt different now, like the air had thickened. I kept glancing over my shoulder at the hallway window. The figure didn't reappear, or maybe it was never there. Around 11, the power flickered. The TV cut out for half a second, and the room plunged into darkness. Carter cursed. The lights came back, but the Wi-Fi dropped. He went to the router, fiddling with wires. Miles wandered to the front window. "There's somebody in the yard," Miles said flatly. Carter and I looked at him. He didn't blink. We both went over. This time there was no mistaking it. A man stood halfway down the gravel driveway, just inside the gate. Tall, but pulled up, hands in his pockets. Even from inside, I could see the glint of eyes reflecting the porch light. He wasn't moving toward the house, just standing there like he'd been waiting. "Maybe he's lost," Carter said, but softer this time. He grabbed his phone and held it up. "I'm calling 911. "No signal," Miles muttered. He held up his own phone, same blank screen. "Mine too." Rex started barking, the sound harsh and desperate. The man on the driveway tilted his head like he was listening. Then he stepped backward into the dark until only the top of his hood showed a smudge against the trees. Then nothing. We locked the doors. Carter dug out an old wooden bat from his closet. Miles grabbed a kitchen knife. We shut off the living room light to see out the windows better. The house felt like a ship sinking, our movements quiet and jerky, trying not to draw attention. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Just the low tick of the fridge and Rex panting at our feet. Then, 3 sharp knocks at the back door. All of us froze. The knocks came again. Slow. Deliberate. Not the way you knock when you're lost or need help. The way you knock when you already know who's inside. Carter whispered, "We should shout. Say we called the cops." Miles swallowed. "And if he knows we didn't?" We stayed silent. The 3rd knock came louder. Then a voice low and male through the door. "Open up." Rex lunged at the door, barking so hard his paws slid on the floor. The voice didn't come again, just footsteps retreating down the porch steps. We crept to the window, hearts pounding. Nothing out there, just the empty yard and the dark woods. We backed away, sat in the middle of the living room, lights off, weapons clutched. No one wanted to say it, but we were all thinking the same thing. Maybe there was more than one person. Maybe someone was at the front door now. Maybe someone was at the window. A sudden crash came from the side of the house, metal on metal, like a garbage can kicked over. We bolted upright. Carter whispered, "The shed." He had a little metal shed near the treeling where he kept tools. The sound had come from there. Miles hissed, "We should make a run for the truck." Carter shook his head. "Keys are on the hook by the back door." None of us wanted to go near that door. We waited. 5 minutes. 10. No more noises. Finally Carter said, "I'm checking." He stood, bat raised. "Don't," I said. My voice cracked. "Just don't." But he went anyway, inching toward the kitchen, bare feet silent on the tile. He reached the back door, peered through the glass. His shoulders stiffened. "What?" Miles whispered. Carter's voice came back thin and high. "He's closer." We joined him. The hooded man was no longer by the driveway. He was at the edge of the deck now, 1 foot on the bottom step, head tilted up toward the window like he was posing for us. Still hands in his pockets. Still not moving. The porch light caught his face just enough to show pale skin, a smear of something dark across his cheek. Carter dropped the curtain. "We're screwed." That's when the power went out completely. Dark swallowed the room. Rex whined and pressed against my leg. My ears filled with the sound of my own pulse. Somewhere outside, gravel crunched under slow, deliberate steps. We crouched in the hallway, the 3 of us shoulder to shoulder. I had the knife. Miles had a heavy lamp he'd yanked from a table. Carter still held the bat. The house smelled like sweat and pizza and fear. A window creaked. Not shattered, just eased up from the outside. Living room. The sound of wood sliding against wood. We all turned toward it, eyes wide. Footsteps inside the house now. Soft. Careful. Someone was in the living room. Carter mouthed, "Basement." He jerked his head toward the door under the stairs. We moved as one, easing it open, groping for the light switch. It flicked but nothing came on. We went down anyway, the stairs groaning under our weight. The basement smelled of damp concrete and detergent. We huddled behind the washer, weapons trembling in our hands. Above us, footsteps moved from room to room. Slow, searching. A drawer slid open. A door clicked shut. Miles was shaking so hard his teeth chattered. I pressed my palm over Rex's muzzle to keep him from barking, feeling his hot breath against my skin. Then, the basement door at the top of the stairs creaked open. Light from a flashlight lanced down the steps, a thin beam sliding across the walls. It moved back and forth like a scanner. Then a foot appeared on the top step. Another. Slow descent. We pressed back until the cinder block wall dug into our spines. I could hear the man's breathing now. Not hurried. Calm. Like he was enjoying this. Halfway down, the steps stopped. The flashlight beam swept the room again, pausing on the far corner. Then silence. Just the drip of water from a pipe. The beam clicked off. Darkness again. We didn't move. Didn't breathe. After what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds, footsteps retreated up the stairs. The door clicked shut. We stayed frozen until we heard a car engine start outside. Tires crunching gravel. Then nothing. It took another 10 minutes before Carter dared to move. He crawled to the basement window, peered out. "Gone," he whispered. We climbed the stairs together. The living room window was open, curtain blowing inward. On the coffee table sat a single object, Carter's car keys. They'd been on the hook by the back door earlier. No note. No sign of forced entry. Just the keys placed neatly in the center of the table, like a calling card. We didn't spend the night. We didn't even pack. We bolted for the truck, drove to Miles's apartment, and stayed there till sunrise. When we came back the next day, nothing was missing. No footprints. No damage. The cops came, took statements, shrugged. Probably a prank, they said. But none of us could explain the no signal, or the way the man had moved through the house without making a sound except when he wanted to, or why he left the keys. Carter moved out a week later. Miles swore off rural houses for good. Rex still startles at random noises. Me? I can't sleep with the window open anymore.